Hey, what's going on, guys? It is your boy, Scythe Lucifer here, and as you can see by the title and what is on screen, we have another chess video going on today. This was a chess game that I played against my friend Plank, who is double my rating, because in order to get better at something, you have to fight people who are better than you. So, let's take a look at this game real quick. I was pretty proud of how this ended up, so let's take a look. So, we get d4, d5, a queen's pawn opening, and then we get c4, the queen's gambit. I decline and play the martial defense. I'm just reading that from up here as a 600 rated player. I don't know any of this. We get knight c3, c6, just guarding this pawn here. So, it's pretty obvious. Just get some standard development. I try to kick out this bishop. He takes. I take with the knight as to not damage my pawn structure going either way like this. Plays e3, solidifying his center, and I play bishop g4, pinning the knight to the queen with the possibility of taking in order to damage the structure that is going on here. Bishop e2, making it so that if I do take, he will not take with the pawn, damaging his structure. I play e6, solidifying this pawn in the center even further. h3, kicking out my bishop. I back up one, and he plays g4, moving my bishop so that it does not see anything anymore on this kind of miserable square. I mean, it's not bad. It's got long range, but that's about all it has going for it. And he jumps in with the knight to the square of e5. This knight is just hitting everything. It's got threats everywhere. It's, if my king stops guarding this square, can jump into here and fork my queen and my rook. This knight's on a pretty great square. I play bishop b4, just setting up another pin, and he takes my bishop, making sense, going for the bishop. I was gonna say the bishop pair, but we've already traded our other bishops. So opposite colored bishops, as you can see here, and we get queen a4. And bishop takes c3 with check, meaning he has to take back with the pawn, so he does, and therefore damaging his structure and doubling his c pawns. Now we get knight e4. He plays rook here, and I have some ideas. This knight's just in the center of the board, kind of just patrolling, hitting a lot of things. Maybe I have a move like this coming and hitting this. The knight's very nice, and I castle. We get f3, and I have to move my knight. I think I spent a good amount of time here, but basically I'm just saying, hey, I'm gonna take your bishop, I'm gonna take your rook. What are you gonna do? He moves, I take the bishop, and I did this because I realized that, you know, I just want these pieces off the board, and also if I go like this, he can't castle already, but it's moving his king to an unwanted square, and I play this move, doubling up on here and threatening, which he promptly takes care of with rook c to f1. I play g5, just slowly advancing. He plays f4. This move I spent a good amount of time on, but I was basically just kind of eyeing this move in the future if his queen ever moves, because I don't want to hang my queen on one move. Also just eyeing e4 as well. He takes, I take back, and he plays f5, getting this connect 3 going, and of course threatening to take my queen. So I move away, getting ideas like this in the future, just threatening his rook with check and things like that, which he takes care of again. I play this, just setting up a nice little pin here, because I did this because I saw this move coming to attack my queen, and I realized that I could literally just leave my queen there because he can't take because it's pinned. So he moves away, which is preparing this move. I play rook up. This pawn has been hanging for a bit, but he hasn't taken it quite yet. So I play rook up because I'm looking to just double up. And he takes my pawn, and I sank a pawn just so I can double up. So he's up a pawn. I move my pawn forwards with a discovered attack on his queen because I didn't want him to have any idea about taking it. I play this again, doubling his pawns on the c file and damaging his structure. And then I move my rook up, just activating it and making sure that it has space, and I go for his weaknesses, which he takes care of with this move. Now I play here, forking these two, which, well, it's not exactly a fork, because if I take there, that hangs a rook in one move, you know, because just king takes, but I can take this, and this is undefendable. He can't move the king forward, because check, so, yeah, he plays there. I take with check, There he threatens my rook, so I take, and the count of material is back to even. The clock is also pretty even at 3:20 for me, 3:47 for Plank. He plays this check, forcing a trade of rooks. Sorry about that. He plays that check, forcing a trade of rooks, and I move my king to the corner of the board. I'm a little bit scared right now because this pawn does cover my only getaway square, but my king is completely safe and I have nothing to worry about. He plays c4. I'm not sure what the idea of c4 was, but inherently I probably should have taken with the rook and not the pawn, because that doubles my structure, which I've been trying to do to him. If I take with the rook, I don't see any real consequence, so I should have taken with the rook, but it happens. I play this move, takes, and again, this pawn is covering my getaway squares, and he's just trying to come towards me, stuff like that. I sacrifice that pawn, but get one in return, and he plays this check. I go towards his rook, trying to make sure that he pulls it away. I check his king, and I move over to here, just looming this in the distance. King b4, very interesting endgame here. I bet you're glad that you're watching this video, and if you're not glad that you're watching a 600 rated player talk about endgames, then I don't know what you're doing. King g6, king c5, and he's going for my weaknesses. This pawn is passed, but it's also got nothing to defend it, so he goes for it. Here, I probably should have played this move. That looks very nice, just checking him, and he can't go here since he's completely cut off on this rank. But he would probably move up, threaten my rook, and then it's just a whole hassle this endgame. So he threatens my rook, meaning that I can't take his pawn because obviously he would take my rook. Then he defends his pawn. I still take it, and now we just have two pawns right here, except his, and I don't have any moves like this, meaning his king is slightly closer. So I go here, just looming this in the background, and he plays king d4, going for my rook, which I promptly take care of. I check him here, king d4, and I force a trade of rooks, because I realized that this pawn was here, and this pawn was here, and they're far enough apart to where he can't guard both with his king. So I push one, he goes for it, I push it again, and he takes. I completely cut off his king, and I take the pawn, but this is just a draw. There isn't a way for me to win this because he's going to get his king in front of mine, and no matter how many times I push my pawn forward and check him, at the end of the day, this is just a stalemate. And it is a stalemate because his king has no legal moves, but it also is also not in check, so everything is covered by a piece, so there's absolutely nothing here. So I drew a game against 1200. I'm very proud of myself. This entire game was very instructive, and I learned a lot from here. Let me see if I can go to the analysis here, if it'll let me. Yeah, alright, so we'll go to key moments, and you can see this graph up here with what was going on, and how white had a big advantage, and then black had a big advantage, and then it evened out into a draw. So we'll look at our next key moment here, which this is apparently a game changer. Castles was a mistake and loses a good amount of advantage. Knight takes c is a mistake. Queen f6 is a mistake. You know, a good amount of mistakes. Apparently this is a horrible blunder. Because of rook. I honestly am not sure why, but oh yes, because of this move. I remember we talked about this afterward, because we analyzed the game afterwards. I don't have that recording because it wasn't recording, but because of this move, after this move, there's just nothing I can do. Like, I can't guard with my rook, my king can't go down, it's just covered. So I mean, there's just nothing I can do. Like, I can't even, like, sacrifice. Like, if I play something like this, if I play this, he just takes, and even after takes, he's still just pushing, and I can go there, but he just promotes, and I can't take because it's covered. So yeah, that was a massive blunder, but he didn't see it, so we're good. But yeah, so we had a massive amount of advantage there. I took his thing, and apparently there's only one good move that keeps advantage. We'll take a look at that. The best move in this position is to go here because of the fact that it forces a rook trade, because after takes, he can't go here. He can only back up his pawn, or he can't go that way. So if he goes this way, I push. Or actually I don't even push. If he goes that way, I just completely cut him off. And he can go up, but I can continue to just cut him off by and you know, he can come forwards more, but it's just never going to work. And then actually this is the best move, but then I go for this pawn, and it's just like this is just winning, because even if he goes for this, if he gets to here, I take. He goes here. You know, it's just like he can't stop promotion. I can just pre-move all the way up to here because he can't do anything to stop it. It's just not quick enough. And then, you know, we get our normal thing where we get the checks of everything and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, I probably should have won this game. He actually probably should have won this game because g6 is just that horrible blunder. Watch the eval bar. It's like about even, 0.1, bang, +10. Like, it's ridiculous how good that move was, but it's really hard to see because, you know, you're so focused on this side with this pawn and things like that and this rook, and I'm going for this, and it's like, so yeah, I don't blame Plank at all, and overall it was a really fun training game to do. So yeah, that was that. This has been your boy Scythe Lucifer, and I will see you guys next time. Later.